We are live! The third episode of the INVESTACARD podcast. Still no name. Still waiting on you guys to help us find a name for this podcast. But appreciate you guys watching, tuning in. We've got Josh, CTO.
How's it going?
Josh, this week, CTO of INVESTACARD, here to talk about technology, give you guys some insight on what we've got going on here at INVESTACARD. A lot of exciting technology updates coming. And Josh is going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek, not too much. We can't give him too much yet.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Josh loves giving you guys a little
introduction. You know? Can't just show him everything all at once. Yeah. You have to slowly bring it on. Here you go, and eventually there's a full platform.
It's coming.
Oh, it's coming.
And we've got Josh here to tell you a little bit about it today. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. I appreciate you having me on. Appreciate you showing me the ropes, and this is amazing.
Yeah, we love having, INVESTACARD team on, letting you guys get introduced, especially the people who haven't been following us on Instagram, who haven't been with us since, the early stages and seeing the way we've grown and developed. And Josh has been a major part, especially coming from the person who has to list items on eBay every day and not having to do that item by item anymore.
Yeah, that was a big one.
That's just one of the few things that Josh has done here. I'll stop talking. I'll let you go into yourself.
Listen, that was great. I remember when I first set that up, the bulk listing and the API with eBay. It was a really big project for me. It was one of the first projects that I worked on coming into INVESTACARD, and it was one of the main things that I wanted to help Eddie with, because when we first started, it was about getting traction on eBay, about getting traction on Instagram and a couple other marketplaces, and to be able to list in bulk to get up 100, 200, 1,000 items all at once was a big step forward for us, and I think that was a huge turning point and a really big milestone in INVESTACARD.
Yeah,
so I was really happy with that.
I remember, again, early stages, and we were listing item by item on the computer, and there was one day that I listed 100 items, and I held up 100 a paper with the 100 on it like I was Wilt Chamberlain, because that was just like a big milestone to hit 100 items in one day with everything else that we'd had going on. And now it's like 100 items. I can do that in 30 minutes or less.
Slow day. Very slow day.
It's a super slow day if I'm getting up 100 items in one day.
Yeah, that was a fun project to work on, and I was happy to bring it. One of the first projects I brought to Eddie, and when I told him, listen, I can really help out with INVESTACARD. I really think there are a bunch of ways we can just make this more efficient, and to just start that foundation, really getting in when Eddie was first starting INVESTACARD. So to get that from the ground floor and build a nice foundation has brought us to where we are today, and I'm very proud and really happy to have helped.
Yeah, he's definitely he's helped a ton, especially like he's talked about on the technology end with a lot of the stuff that you guys don't see, and even a lot of stuff that you do see when you get these automated emails. It's all Josh. Anything that has to do with automations, anything going on in the system has to do with this guy here. Tell him a little bit about the partner portal and just a few things that we have planned coming up going forward.
Sure. So I don't know if maybe some of you guys have seen us on Instagram. Every once in a while we'll do a live little partner portal demonstration. But really, what the main goal of it was to bring transparency to the hobby. It's really easy to get kind of lost. You're buying stuff on eBay, you're buying stuff at shows, you're selling here and there. It's real easy to get lost, in your profits and, how much you spend on this card and what your average is sort of on a card. Right. So that's, what we tried to bring to the hobby, a very easy, transparent way to track your portfolio, just to start out with. Obviously, we have a whole host of new updates and features we're bringing, but just to start off and track your portfolio with a nice login, a password, a nice gallery to show off your portfolio to your friends, that was something that, we tried really hard to bring to the hobby, and we're really proud to be able to, give that to some of our partners, and hopefully we'll get a little more mainstream with it, and hopefully give it out to anyone who wants to track their portfolio. That's really the goal.
Yeah, and I know, like, you know, we're all in this. We all buy, sell, collect.
Yep.
And so I know even my stuff, and even, you know, I work for InvestaCard, and even my stuff, I've gotten in the vault back there, and I couldn't tell you what I'm into any of it for.
It's easy. Yeah, it's super easy to get lost in the shuffle. You know, there's so many things going on, especially in this hobby where it's, you know, you have so many unique items.
Right.
And, you know, even though you have 2 Zion PSA 9s, you know, they're the same technically, but literally they're actually different. They have different SKUs, different serial numbers, and it's real easy to get lost in that shuffle.
Right.
So to bring that transparency and sort of organization to the hobby, I think is going to help out, you know, tenfold in the sports card industry.
Especially if you're someone who buys a lot and sells a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially, you know, on your own, having, you know, the portal where you can just go in and you know, you go to a show and you're there all day and you buy, you know, even 50 slabs. Let's say you come home with 50 slabs that you've got to track and put yourself in inventory, and you've got to sit there on an Excel sheet, and that's the last thing you want to do after sitting, you know, or standing and walking around a show all day.
The last thing you do at shows is to sit down.
Yeah,
you know that.
Yeah. We don't sit down at chairs.
We
don't even accept chairs.
Yeah, we take all the chairs away. Thursday night, as soon as we start setting up, the chairs are gone. No one sits down.
But nobody, you know, wants to get home and have to put them all on an Excel sheet and think about what did I pay and track all that. And, you know, we've got the partner portal where we can, you know, set that all up for you and keep track and make sure everything's, all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted.
Absolutely. And, you know, again, a lot of new updates coming to the portal that we're really excited to bring. I'll give them a little sneak peek. Really, the goal is to bring data to the portal, to give anyone who wants it the data and the information to make smart decisions. You know, we're looking to obviously analyze historical data, you know, to bring on, you know, how card selling prices over the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, but to really look forward and get into the prediction aspect of the market is something that we're looking to bring to the hobby, and that's something that I think we're just on the cusp on. You know, you have a couple companies sort of dabbling into it, but I think the prediction aspect of the market and, you know, bringing really hardcore data and algorithms. It's a big word. I didn't know if I should bring that word onto the podcast, but we're talking algorithms, guys. We're talking algorithms.
I'm about to put the definition of algorithms down here somewhere.
Go ahead, it's right here.
Right, there
algorithm. So really, I mean, we're not going to get into it, but really all it is a formula for prediction. We're looking to take in different variables, you know, how a certain player did last night, how he's done the last couple weeks, how his team has done, how the sport is doing in general. Bring all that into one nice number and call it a buy or a sell or a hold.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, we do. I know you guys have your hold or sold kind of thing.
No, yeah.
Hopefully in a couple weeks we'll have a big board up here and it's automated.
Yep.
This is a hold, this is a sold.
Right.
That's it.
And then we can just get rid of the segment.
That's it. We don't even need us. I can automate the podcast. Yeah, we'll just have a camera and it'll be right there.
All right, let's relax a little bit.
AI Kevin and AI Josh. And we'll have Eddie bobbing around.
Listen, if I'm an AI, I can do that. If we can clone me.
Good luck.
Oh man. I'll tell you, there's a lot of stuff we can get done.
Yeah, a lot of big things to bring to the hobby.
Let's talk about something that I know that we're both enthusiastic about.
Sure.
The Miami Heat.
Oh, yeah.
Let's have some Heat talk.
Okay.
So the Miami Heat playing the Celtics tonight. Big win on Sunday. Stayed in the 6th seed, moved up 2 games on the Celtics.
Which is very important. Honestly, the seeding now is especially important.
Right. With the playing game,
yes.
You know, you don't want to be part of that playing game. Anything can happen in one game.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in 2 games.
Yeah.
So you want to give yourself that 7-game series, give yourself the opportunity. Right now, the way things are, Miami would be playing Milwaukee.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Yes.
Because Miami beat Milwaukee last year, as everybody knows.
Correct.
And Giannis, there were the rumors of Giannis
floating
possibly
around,
thinking about Miami.
Talking to Grandpa Pat, you know?
Maybe Giannis and Bam building a relationship there. And he ultimately re-signed his extension.
Yep.
So it's that series I think would be one of the more intriguing first round series because you've got Giannis looking to get his revenge against Miami, and you've also got him looking to prove a point and saying, I didn't need those guys.
And I made a good decision to stay in Milwaukee.
Right. Well, he's got to win a championship to prove that.
I agree.
From looking at the Heat's side of things, I think it's also probably the matchup that they'd want. Because
Milwaukee?
Yeah, because they've got the confidence that they can beat them in a 7-game series. I do think Milwaukee is a better team this year than they did last year with Drew Holiday on the team.
Yep.
But I still think that's their best first-round matchup based on the possible options.
What are some other options Miami could get into? Let's say they...
I mean, if they stay in the 6th seed, it's going to be it's likely going to be Brooklyn or Milwaukee.
Yeah.
If they fall into the play-in, they could end up against Philly. If they move up to 5, then it's looking like it could be New York or Atlanta.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of options, really.
You think you'd rather play New York or Milwaukee? New York's been hot. I mean, they've been hot all year. Are they the breakout team of the year?
I don't want to talk too much about the Knicks this week because we've got a special guest next week from the Knicks wall.
Okay, I got you.
But I do have something on the Knicks next week for you guys that I think could happen.
Check the podcast next week.
And we'll have final seedings next week, so we can really get into this.
Okay, all right.
But between the Bucks, Nets, and the 76ers, I think the best matchup is the Bucks.
Yeah, I agree. The 76ers, listen, I mean, they've been hot all year, and they don't really get talked about, I don't think. I'm a little biased because I think, first of all, Ben Simmons is, I'm not gonna disparage anybody on a podcast, but Ben Simmons is like if you can't shoot a jumper, what are you doing in the NBA? Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Okay, you're big. Okay, you get some rebounds. Okay, you're a menace in the paint. But if you can't. If you're a liability from 16 to 18 feet, I don't want you on my team. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. That's just it.
It's tough in playoff time to not be a willing shooter.
Yeah,
exactly. As the guy who's handling.
You're a liability, especially in playoff time when you have so many days and you're playing the same team and you have time to really plan, your attack against the other team. I think having that liability at 16 to 18 feet is huge, honestly, and I think that's what's really holding back the Philadelphia 76ers.
It's going to be interesting to see if Rivers has figured something out with that team because they did add some more shooting with guys like Seth Curry.
Yeah.
But it's like they haven't shown that they could do it in the playoffs. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can because they've had shooters around Simmons and Embiid before, and they still couldn't get it done. We talked about the play-in a little bit.
Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about there's some new things being added into different sports.
Yeah, all across sports.
This year and even the last couple of years that we've seen things being added. We've got the play-in tournament like we just talked about. We're adding two playoff teams into the mix. The NFL adding an extra game on this year. They added the extra wild card team last year. So you got 7 teams in the playoffs now. A 17-game regular season.
And did they end up taking away a preseason game?
They took NFL? 2 preseason games away.
So they finalized with 2 preseason games getting taken away and adding that last game.
I believe it's 2 preseason games now and 17 game. It could be 3 preseason games.
Yeah, I mean, just off the bat, it's going to affect injuries.
Yeah,
because a lot of teams use those 3 and 4 preseason games to bring out, really get their starters some more playing time. Obviously, game 1, game 2 of the preseason, your starter goes in for a drive, 2 drives, and he's out.
Right.
Game 3 and 4 is really where you're letting that team, your starting team, build that chemistry.
Yeah.
So I think injuries and chemistry is what's really going to hurt the NFL, at least for the first couple games of the season.
Yeah, and I think we saw it last year, too, with COVID and, there being a lot of restrictions and no preseason games last year. I think you could see it, and even the injuries. I think we saw, a ton of injuries last year.
Yep.
And hopefully, you don't see a lot of it this year. But what does that do? This is the data guy, so this is the perfect guy to ask. Seasonality, one of his favorite words.
One of my favorites.
Seasonality.
Yes. That's another good seasonality. Yes.
What do you think, things like that, NFL adding a 17th game, another playoff team, even in the major leagues a couple years ago, adding a 5th wildcard team or a 2nd wildcard team, a 5th team to the playoffs. Things like that, what do you think, how do they affect the market?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a really good question, and that's something that we dabble with here, a lot of different variables. How are variables going to affect card prices? And seasonality is one of our bigger ones. So I think just off the bat, really taking away those last 2 preseason games is going to speed up the sort of the upward trend at the start of a season. Usually you have that sort of a slow rise the start of any season. You're getting into the start of MLB season, early March, late February. Usually you'd expect to see a slow climb, and I think taking away those last 2 preseason games, you're really going to see a spike, more of a quick jump at the start of the season, which may lead to a steeper drop-off as you're getting towards the middle of the season, when people aren't really talking too much about NFL. You get to like November, after baseball season ended, you're kind of getting more into the playoff aspect of the NFL, but adding that extra game towards the end, I think you're going to see a sort of a slower decline towards the end of the season with card prices and a steeper upswing at the start of a season. Okay. So I think that's, what we predict to see with this, extra 17th game and taking away 2 preseason games. You really expect to see a quicker jump and a slower drop-off, which may be good for the market. It's going to be good for those collectors and investors who really like to be ahead of the game. Right. You see people now, going back to Dallas in March, especially Dallas in the Dallas Card Show is in a week?
Yep, next weekend.
You really see people trying to predict the market. So you see, in March, people buying football. What are you looking to buy football for in March? Mm-hmm. And it's to get ahead of the game. You're looking to buy raw football, even graded football. Obviously, with PSA, putting a pause on submissions, buying the raw cards in March didn't really help you too much because you weren't ahead of the game with grading.
Yeah.
But I think that's where you're going to see a lot of the changes, is what people are buying in March versus what they're going to be buying, let's say, in December. Especially with the basketball season starting a little later. It started, in December this year?
Yeah, late December.
So usually you'd expect to see people buying football in December, getting ready for, the playoffs are starting or have just started, getting ready for the Super Bowl. You'd expect to see people buying football. However, as we saw, this past year, people were buying basketball, November, December, January, the season starts going. Basketball prices skyrocketed. Yeah. Along with football, you saw football going up. You saw those Aaron Rodgers cards skyrocketing. You saw the Brady Bowman Chrome, the PSA 10 going for almost $30,000.
Yep.
And so you saw that spike, but it wasn't as big as you would expect because you had to fight that market share with basketball.
Right.
With the season changing. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the 17th game or the 2 less preseason games really affect the market.
And even in the NBA with the play-in, you've got, obviously, Russell Westbrook, there's more layers to it than just the fact that the Wizards are going to be in the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
With him, passing Oscar Robertson last
that was
night
big.
As the all-time triple-doubles leader.
That was really big.
Congratulations to Russell.
Yeah, I mean, people have a lot of things to say about Russell Westbrook.
I mean, listen, the guy's, if anybody could do it, if it was that easy to get a triple-double, he wouldn't be the only guy to average a triple-double. It's the 4th season. He's going to average a triple-double for the entire season.
Yeah.
The only one person has done it once. Like, if it was easy to get a triple-double, LeBron would have done it several times.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to master those separate skills that you need to. It's especially playing against other professional basketball players.
And if you're going to tell me that, he goes and he chases rebounds, I mean, if you're going to blame him for giving too much effort, then I don't know what to tell you. But, you see a guy like him and his prices are starting to go up. And I think...
as they should.
But I also think the play-in has a little bit to do with that.
Oh, yeah.
I think the fact that he could potentially make the playoffs has to do with the rise a little bit. I think if he was doing this, the prices would still be rising. I don't think they'd rise as much, though.
If they had no shot of getting the playoffs.
Right. If he was on a really bad team. Like, if he was still in Houston and he was doing this, and they were... What's Houston's record right now? Whatever they're the worst team in the Western Conference, maybe in basketball.
Last. 16 and 53.
Yeah. If he was doing this with Houston at 16-53, it would make the news. It'd get attention.
Yeah.
But Washington has been so much better since he's been 100% healthy. He said he was playing the start of the season injured. So I think that has a lot to do, even just adding 2 teams to a play-in, just giving them the chance.
Yeah, exactly. Just that chance brings up the card value. Because,
Right.
A lot of people like to get into another word that we use a lot around here is speculation.
Yeah.
So, just having that chance to be in the playoffs, you see those sort of the card prices built in with speculation.
Right.
And it's really interesting to see where the masses are going, where are people thinking, the long shots are coming in. It's all about the underdog.
Yeah.
Where are the long shots coming in? Where can you buy, a card that's 50% down and have that chance to just skyrocket?
Right.
It's those play-in teams, those...
That's actually a great way to transition into what I want to talk about next.
And I'm eyeing it.
Yeah, you're looking at it already. You said speculation.
Yep.
You said underdogs.
Yep.
You said long shots.
Yep.
You said going up 50%. Now, these are all the things that people look for when they speculate. So I went a couple weeks ago due to speculation.
Yeah.
And I bought me a Tim Tebow Topps Chrome Rookie X Fractor.
Love Tim Tebow.
As you may have seen last week when I did a little mail day segment with CanCar. Now, news came out yesterday that Tim Tebow is expected to sign. He's expected to sign next week with the Jacksonville Jaguars, a 1-year deal, and he'll have the opportunity to make the team. So
no ink has been put to paper.
No, not even. He's not even when he signs. It
Yeah.
sounds like from the report that he's not even guaranteed a roster spot.
Yeah, of
He
course.
has to still make the team.
There are a lot of people in the Jaguars that are sort of, on the fence about this. Even like the speculation or the rumors, they're not really happy what it's doing to the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy who's been out of football for 8 years, but at the same time, he's, his college coach is now the coach of the pro team. It's one of those not what you know, it's who you know kind of situations.
And one of the best college football players of all time.
That doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
But speaking of, this card and talking about speculation, the card has gone up just off of speculation. He hasn't seen a snap, again, in 8 years. He has not played a snap of football. And it's gone up over 100%.
Yeah.
It's gone up.
More than doubled.
Yeah, it's more than doubled since 2 weeks ago, before he signed or any news of him signing. There was just a speculation that he worked out for Urban Meyer, and there was the possibility that they could sign him. So it just shows, if you are going to buy into the speculation, it's probably, just getting early.
Yeah, and it's always going to be a tough thing to predict speculation. How can you predict when someone who hasn't played football in 8 years is going to get a tryout?
Right.
How can you predict when highlights being shown on ESPN or on YouTube or things going viral? How can you predict that, and how can you see that being added to their card prices? And it's something that Eddie talks about all the time, and it's you can never predict random human behavior.
Yeah, it's Eddie's favorite.
Eddie's favorite saying. He's got a lot of good sayings. He's got a lot of funny sayings, but that's one of the ones that we implement, in our day-to-day operations, because it's tough to predict things like Tim Tebow getting a call from Urban Meyer.
Right.
How can you expect that?
Yeah.
And it's something that has been, applied to his card prices already.
Right.
The speculation is already into the card prices.
And I'm sure, because, like I said, I read a report that 2 weeks ago of him just working out, and I'm sure I even bought higher than it was 2 weeks before that.
Yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
if I could have probably got it at a fraction of the price that I got the card for, even 2 weeks before any report came out, just because he'd been out of sight, out of mind. Nobody's really looking for Tim Tebow
Practicing his baseball swing.
Yeah, and even that he left. I mean, he was done with baseball. So
a lot of people were buying his some of the Mets cards he put up. I mean,
the Mets were selling his jersey. The guy never actually played for the New York Mets. So
there's a lot of speculation that goes into the market that's going to be tough to predict, but it's something that we're trying to control for. Another nice word that we like to use around here is control. How do you control for
you guys don't need that
injured?
definition.
How do you control for somebody getting called up from his old college coach?
Yeah. Sometimes we buy things and we don't really buy them because we want to sell them.
Yes.
We just want to buy them because we want to have them. We want to walk in. It makes you happy to see.
Yeah.
Like this is one of Josh's cards here.
Yeah, you're gonna show him the Yu-Gi-Oh card?
Yeah, I'll let you, because I've got no idea about Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Okay, sure. So this is a card that I've had in my collection for Man, oh man, it 15 to 20 years minimum.
Wow.
I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Since before I could remember. 5 years old, I was going to Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments, buying little packs of cards. I would beg my mom to buy me a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards at a checkout at Walmart or something.
Yeah.
And this is just a card that... Go ahead and show them the card. It's a real nice card. It's a nice hollow. But it's, I graded it recently, and I didn't grade it for investment.
Right.
I didn't grade it because I thought this card would go up or the Yu-Gi-Oh! Market would go up, even though it has.
Mm-hmm.
I graded it because it makes me happy. Like, plain and simple. I walk in, and it's on my desk. If you guys have ever been to the office and you've seen my desk, it's right on my desk. I see it every morning, and I smile. And it's something that, when people ask me, what are your favorite cards, or what are you collecting, or, what makes you happy about the hobby, stuff like this. This makes me happy.
Yeah.
Not that, seeing a nice Michael Jordan rookie card, investing in that, not that doesn't make me happy, but this is just something that makes you smile.
Yeah.
I think it's an important thing that a lot of people are maybe overlooking now that investments have come into the hobby and it's all about dollars and cents and margins, but really remembering what brought you into the hobby.
Right.
As a collector, as a hobbyist, as an enthusiast. I think that's an important thing that people tend to forget or tend to overlook, especially now.
Yeah, like you said, the investment side of this has become so big. It's almost like stocks when you're buying cards.
Yeah.
And nobody's buying a stock because it's cool.
Yeah.
Nobody buys a share of Coca-Cola to say, hey, I have a share of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Maybe some people do.
Yeah.
But it's a similar thing here. But with this, you actually, it's a physical. It's
Tangible
something you get
item.
to touch. It's something you get to hold. Something you get to keep. So it's a little bit different. And there are, like you said, this is a lot of us who are in this this business now because it is become a business. We're in the hobby previously, and we were collecting. So we there are a lot of cards that we do get attached to, and it's harder to sell certain cards than others. Every time I sell a Dwayne Wade, my heart breaks a little more. But I've got some in the stash, so it doesn't.
And it's just different buckets you put it into. This is my investment bucket, and this is what makes me happy.
Yeah,
like that's it, plain and simple.
Let's do some sold or hold. Let's get
great.
into it.
That's a good transition because what makes you happy, maybe you want to hold, and what doesn't, maybe you want to sell.
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
What do you have? Because I know you've got some bangers. So
I do have a banger. Yeah, I have a couple bangers. This is something I wanted to start with. My '86 Fleer, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it is a PSA 6, so it's not like a mint condition, but it's something that I believe is currently low, and it's been low. At least the last 2 to 3 months, the last 60 to 90 days, it's been on a downward trend, and I would consider it a hold.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be selling this card in the near future. It's a hold for me.
Right.
Because I think, the GOAT market has been on a downward trend, and I think it's going up. Yeah. I think it has the potential to bounce back. And again, it has to do with seasonality, like we talked about earlier. Obviously, it's a little tougher to predict when a Michael Jordan card is going to go up because he's not playing.
Unless you have a documentary coming.
Unless the Hornets start doing something. But it's tough to predict, but I would say that the Jordan card for me is a hold. What do you have?
I've got Luka Doncic.
Okay.
And Luka's he's in a weird place, I think.
Yeah, he's been in a weird place for about 90 days, the Luka cards.
He's been coming down. The playoffs are coming up next week. Playing games start next week. They look like they're going to be like the 5 seed, 6 seed at worst. I don't think they're going to be in the play-in, so they should lock in a playoff spot. Luka is like one of those I almost still want to hold.
Yeah.
He just dipped below 1,000 on some of the most recent sales. His PSA 10, the base 10s.
Yep.
I think that could be attributed to the high population. The population on Luka base 10s is almost 17,000. It's 16,862.
Yeah, and we were talking about pop counts and how that's another variable that we're tracking, just like seasonality. Something that is going to affect card prices, especially as it gets more mainstream.
Yeah.
People talking about pop count. A year ago, you didn't hear that phrase at card shows. No one was talking about pop count.
Right.
You had a couple people who were in the know.
Right.
That understood how pop count affects it, but it's something that's getting more mainstream and something that people are going to start looking out for when making that investment is, what's the population looking like?
Yeah.
it's a big, a big thing in the market for sure.
So for me right now, Luka would be a hold, but he's somebody that I would say he's very close to being a sold with the playoffs coming up. And I think if he can do what he did in last year's playoffs and steal a couple of games and have a big game and a buzzer-beating game winner in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was a big game.
If he can do something like that again, and I think we'll see a little bit of an uptick in the card, and I think you might be able to get rid of it and depending on where you got into it, make some profit there. This next thing that we're going to do, we normally have 2 people on the podcast. As you can see, we still have 2. We're good at counting. I want to bring one other person on, though, because we've got some special announcements to make. So I want to bring Edward Siegel, the CEO of InvestaCard, up and let him give you guys some announcements.
He loves to be fashionably.
He likes to be.
Yeah,
he just got some new Jordans.
Guys,
also,
I'm ready. Let's put me on at 2 p.m. And listen, you go to a concert, you go see Led Zeppelin or AC/DC. Back in the day.
I mean, the ticket stub might say 8 p.m., but
you think they're going at 8 p.m.?
Come on.
You think you're gonna see AC/DC on the stage at 8 p.m.?
Yeah, no chance. You think you're going to see Edward Siegel when you call him? He's not like a magic genie or something. Oh.
We are live!
Yeah, Eddie!
That's the card here on this Wednesday afternoon, right? This Wednesday afternoon. It's actually not Wednesday, right? It's Tuesday, right?
It's Tuesday, yes. It is
Tuesday. But
I was going to let you have that one.
Yes. It is Tuesday, and Wednesday is the day that our podcast drops. So make sure you go on to YouTube and subscribe to this podcast because it's going to grow out. We're going to grow this thing out. I was listening in the green room, as we call it, and sounds like a great show. And I got to tell you, one of those last comments, and you hear it all the time. Why did that person grade this? Why did you grade that card? Why would you grade that card, right? And Josh says, I graded it because it makes me happy. Yes. And if you want one of those T-shirts, I loved it so much, Josh, that I'm going to create T-shirts. I graded it because it makes me happy. If you want one of those T-shirts, comment down below because I'm going to produce those T-shirts. We're going to give them out. And
you like to give away our merch?
We will promote that. Everyone wants me to sell my merch, but right now we're just gonna give it out. And oh, by the way, Kevin, if you would have invested in Luka Doncic a year ago, up into at least one in the last year, it's still up over 100%, right? So if you didn't sell, so even though it's down, it's still up over 100% over the last year. Because why? Because I follow the numbers and I look at the data each and every day. Here's what we need you to do, though, for us, because this is the No Name Podcast, right?
No Name
Podcast. Here's what you need to do. You need to first subscribe to our page, and then you need to help us out and come up with a name for our podcast. All you got to do is comment below what you think this podcast should be called, and if we pick out a winner, you are going to be flown to Fort Lauderdale here, right? You're going to be a guest on our InvestaCard podcast. We're going to promote the new name of the podcast. Spend a day here with InvestaCard. And be a fun experience. So we are live from InvestaCard here. As always, invest in the best with InvestaCard.
There you go.
Thank you,
not
Eddie.
The end,
appreciate it.
Glad you closed it. Appreciate Eddie coming on and making some announcements. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe find a new name for the podcast.
I like the No Name Podcast. Is it just me?
I do like the No Name Podcast.
Am I the only one who likes that name?
I like it.
Comment below. Do you like the name No Name Podcast?
Maybe the masses say they just like the No Name Podcast, and we just keep it that.
I think it's a cool name.
Or maybe we find a better name, and somebody wins a trip to Fort Lauderdale. That's not such a bad prize.
Maybe we give out a trip to Fort Lauderdale just because.
maybe we have enough people say they like the No Name Podcast that we can do a raffle. Who knows? We're always doing different things. Thank you guys for watching this week. Josh, thank you for coming on.
Of course. Appreciate you having me.
Got an exciting show for you guys next week. We're going to talk a lot of basketball. It is the first day of NBA playing games next week. So we're going to have Sean of the Knicks Wall on. We're going to talk a lot of basketball and preview the playoffs and the play-in. Appreciate you guys watching. And as always, invest in the best with InvestaCard. Appreciate you guys.